data center GPUs or XPUs could we build without them?
Well, I mean, the Groq part that we love so much is done on 12 nanometer at Global Foundries. But no, I know. Of course, I would find.
No. I just feel like I just had a conversation with my wife. Thank you.
Founder and CEO of More Insights and Strategy, Patrick Moorhead.
6, 5.
CEO of the Futurum Group,
Daniel Newman.
6, 5.
Do we know what we're talking about, Moorhead?
We absolutely know what we're talking about.
We are back. We are all a little fatigued at the end of the week, but for you, it's probably the beginning of the week. I don't know when you listen to this, and we don't care, but we just appreciate that you do. It's episode 277. We want to say hello to everybody out there. It is the week of September. It was 19th that we did this podcast, Pat. The only reason I'm calling that out is because on the 18th, there was some mega news that dropped. Left for dead, Intel rises from the ashes like the phoenix. And it sees a 30% gain in a week as kingmaker Jensen Huang comes out, says, I don't know what you all think you're doing, but I call the shots in this industry. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Pat, first and foremost, your sleeves are a little tighter this week. Tell everybody what you're doing and why you've got so much bicep going on. And is this going to be a problem for me at some point? Am I going to get a confidence issue? And you're going to be like, Pat is more jacked than Daniel.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to be the case, Daniel, because you keep raising the bar and keep doing that. I think the only possibility of that would be you getting a gigantic injury, like tearing a muscle in your bicep or something like that, and then I still think that you would be there. You've got.
Do you imagine just having like one big bicep? And like one completely lame one?
No, I've seen that. Some people inject oil into their arms. I don't know if you've seen that before. It's pretty awful, and it's really obvious what's going on there. But I don't know. I had a really bad cold last night, and I got maybe 4 hours sleep. I skipped my arm workout today, so I don't know.
You stayed in bed?
They're kind of puny. Yeah, I did.
You stayed in bed?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I actually won't. I won't confess to the fact that yesterday, I get up at like 4:30 every day and I go to the gym, but I was super tired. And whatever it was, like I got more sleep than you did, but I need 6 hours and like 20 minutes and 2 hours of restorative, or I am a complete disaster. And I got 5:30 the night before. And I literally was so tired at the gym, and I got through the workout. I did okay. But then I went home, ate breakfast, and it was like only like 7:15 by the time I was home, and I took a nap. I napped from 7:30 to 8 a.m. So while some people you're probably already on TV like 5 times, I was taking a nap, getting my head out of my and after that I was okay, but it's like I needed that additional 30 minutes to get me to 6 hours or so. But anyways, it's all good. You look great. So that's the important thing. Everybody out there, make sure you pay a compliment to Pat's right bicep. It has been an incredible journey for him. And he does seem to be fully back, a little happier, a little more engaged. And that's what I want to see in you, because that miserable SOB that comes out from time to time, yeah, I don't like that guy.
But Dan,
anyway,
based on all measurements, though, I had a 60-day trough, and I linked it back to my surgery, and my HRV is back, and everything's back. My strength is back. And I met with my doctor yesterday. He explained to me, even though it was a teeny tiny surgery, just the trauma it puts on your body, and it takes a good 2 months to get back from anything completely. But anyways, I'm back. That's all anybody needs to know.
Well, you're back. Intel's back. Everybody's back this week. And by the way, the only thing older than Intel is you. Anyway, so let's talk about. Just kidding.
Actually, Intel and I are exactly the same age.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. I'm not going to take credit. Like I do enough victory laps. I don't need to take credit there. I had no idea how perfect that segue was. So we got a great show this week for everybody out there. You've heard me mention it. We are going to spend some time on this NVIDIA thing. So many implications of this NVIDIA Intel announcement came out of the blue. Surprised, I think, most people. And actually, if you look at it in arrears, it was actually maybe not as surprising as you'd think. We'll hopefully break that down for you. There's more China nonsense going on. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Oracle and Silver Lake and what's going on with TikTok. TikTok. By the way, Pat is awesome on TikTok. I'm not going to tell everybody my stories. I'm going to tell him the stories later. We're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft, Nvidia, and all the big news that came out of the UK summit this week. Pat, Groq, a company that I think both of us are on that cap table of, not the Groq LLM, Groq, the inference cloud company, just raised $750 million at 7 times the valuation of the investment. So, I don't know, we're pretty smart. And then IonQ just blasted through. Our friend Nicola Mossy, congratulations. I think the stock hit nearly $70, and the company's market cap jumped to like over $20 billion. I wish at 100 million revenue, I could create a $20 billion company. Nicola, teach us the way, Sensei. Teach us what you are doing. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Then we're going to get to the flip. You all know the simulated arguments that I tend to win every week. And then we got a little bit of bulls and bears. It was Fed week, Pat. I mean, quietly, because everything became about Intel. But we did have a massive pivot in the Fed this week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, Elon Musk and what he's doing to I was going to use the word manipulated stock. That's not really true. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk a little bit about how right I was about Google. We're going to spend a little time on that at the end. But look, Pat, let's just dive in to the topics. Go to the Decode. All right. So you and I were lucky enough to be read in, get a little bit ahead of the curve, listen to what was going on, and we got the full-on read on Intel and Nvidia, man. What happened there? I mean, gosh, you would think strange bedfellows, no?
Oh my gosh, where do we start? Mike Rubin, the guy that runs our business, president of 6.5, just said, "Hey, you guys can just talk about this the whole time." And I think we can. So this is going to be most of the conversation here. Been working in and around these companies for over 35 years, and these two companies used to be really good partners. And then Jensen said, "Hey, I'm going to open up a can of whoop on Intel," and then Intel pulled Nvidia's chipset license, and Nvidia figured out how to use GPUs for more than gaming and workstations, and here we are. So yeah, I was really, really surprised. So there's really, I would say, 4 elements to this. So on the PC side, Intel is building and selling an x86 SoC for a notebook with a high performance NVIDIA RTX GPU chiplet. So Intel will do the packaging of that solution. They will fab the CPU, and NVIDIA and TSMC will fab the GPU chiplet. On the data center side, Intel will be packaging NVIDIA custom x86 CPUs from Intel, and then an NVIDIA GPU, and they will be doing the packaging of that. They will be doing the CPU chiplet of that. So you've got foundry, you've got CPU, you've got GPU involved here, and NVIDIA is investing $5 billion as well. And I know everybody said, hey, it's not a foundry manufacturing deal, which when it comes to wafers, right? Think of foundry, they do 2 things. They make 2 things. They make wafers and they package stuff. It definitely is a packaging deal on the data center side. It took me a while to get underneath that because nobody would say on the conference calls and nobody would say in the press releases, they wouldn't be direct. And I finally got a note from Intel telling me this. So enemy of my enemy is my friend. Strategically, this is really good for Intel. There's absolutely no question. There might be a question on what NVIDIA gets out of this and why they're doing it. The one thing that I'm thinking through right now, Daniel, is today you have things like Grace Blackwell and Vera Rubin, right? That's the very tightly integrated ARM CPU and Nvidia GPU for data center. And now, based on at least what everybody's saying, is there will be two versions of that. And think 2 to 3 years out. This is not anything that's going to be immediate. And I just think, gosh, this is super hard for even to get Blackwell out of here. And now they're going to have two derivatives of it. My thesis, I think, is that either they're not going to do two in reality. They'll drop one when it gets close. But probably a better scenario is the x86 version, the converged version, the integrated version is for, let's say, enterprise, where they can leverage this combination for things other than AI, okay? And they can run applications on those same servers. And then maybe the ARM version is specifically targeted in hyperscaler data centers. So you have enterprise data center, you have hyperscaler data centers, you have x86, and then you have ARM. But there's a lot of stuff we don't know, right? Like, what's the ship timing? What's the cadence? What are the specifications? I'm hearing this 2 to 3 years. Like, is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? When what it starts showing up on the roadmap? From an ARM perspective, if you listen to everything that's being discussed, it's not an issue for ARM, and if everybody keeps to the talking points, there's no impact. There's no impact to ARM. Now, the interesting part, though, is that if there wasn't an alternative before and now there is, how can ARM not be impacted? And the way that I look at that is the market's growing so much that even though they're not getting 100% of the integrated share, they're still growing. And then you put on top of that what ARM CEO Rene Haas has been saying on the earnings call. Basically, I'm going to create chips, but I'm not directly going to say that, but that's kind of what I'm doing. AMD, I think it makes life more difficult for them from an optics perspective. Interesting, Vivek over at Bank of America said it's actually a positive for AMD, and he upped his target. He did that this morning. So
That was dumb. I don't agree.
And by the way, on Blackwell, what I'm hearing out there in my channel checks is the preferred head node for a non-integrated solution is AMD, and not Intel. For H series, it was Intel for a non-integrated solution. So, this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving, Daniel. We're going to be talking about this probably every other week. Something is going to hit, but make no bones about it. This is a positive thing for Intel. We're going to have to figure out, what happens to Intel graphics, if anything. Like, well, what does it mean? How does there's rumors of an ARM notebook out there at the high end to compete with a MacBook Pro, working with Nvidia. So, like, how does that work? We're going to have a super high end notebook on x86 and a super high end notebook from ARM. Optionality is good. Don't get me wrong, but it sends an interesting message to developers.
Yeah, I mean, this was such like 5D chess by Jensen. He absolutely like Intel, massive beneficiary. It didn't do much for Nvidia's share price or anything, but Nvidia is the kingmaker. He walks around at the Dell Tech World and says, Dell is the company. He gets on stage at one time and he said, it's all about ARM. He gets on stage another time and says, now it's all about Intel. And, it instantaneously changes the fortunes of those companies. He picks CoreWeave. He just picks companies. He picks quantum names. This is going to be the quantum player. He is absolutely in control right now. But he's playing all the sides. So he's got all the partnerships now. He's got x86. He's got ARM. So he doesn't really care. He just opened the enterprise to NVIDIA because I think where he had real risk of AI and NVIDIA struggling to have as much momentum would be in the enterprise. But x86 dominates the enterprise. So now you've made it easier for these companies to not have to do the ARM port. in the enterprise. And, so he kind of has some ability to say, you know what, ARM is the hyperscale option. It's all about Grace Blackwell and the else. But in the enterprise, when they're buying 4 or 8 GPUs, they can take an Intel chip and optimize it, they can package it up. Of course, who's trying to grow the enterprise? Sees a massive opportunity. It's AMD. AMD EPYC has been incredibly successful in the enterprise. They've been able to take share. They've been able to grow. That's not a good thing for Jensen, because AMD is building full AI solutions. AMD is building software. AMD is trying to build a full stack. And AMD is really directly trying to compete, and is really the only direct competition, albeit at the very small market share, to Nvidia. So he's cornering everyone off at the head. He's basically taking control of the fate of these different markets, and he's doing it very effectively. And then he, of course, is not hurting his chances with President Trump by backing the company, right? So you've got a company that they invested at $20. Well, President Trump's tweeting pictures of Intel's now $30. He just paid 50% investment. So all those people that wanted to give me crap about the fact that the U.S. was smart, the U.S., the taxpayer, just got a 50% return on investment in 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take a breath on that, but I just want to point out that that was smart. That was the right thing to do. And you talked a lot about the technology, so I'm going to stay away from this. I'm going to actually be somewhat straightforward and not make this overly lengthy. I still think this is a foundry play. Why did ARM invest $2 billion? Why is Nvidia investing $5 billion? And why do I think you're going to see investments coming in from Broadcom and you're going to see Qualcomm? Because they're all making a play to have early input on foundry capacity because they see what is happening. By the way, Jensen's move is a double move for him. One is the capacity that he's actually going to potentially get access to later. It may be because he wants it. It may be because he needs it. But the long and the short of it is he hasn't had any leverage over TSMC in a very long time. And I'm not saying he doesn't love TSMC. Everybody loves TSMC, but doesn't that create some risk? It's the same issue with Nvidia. He's basically saying, even you, TSMC, I will build a partnership with this other up-and-coming foundry. I will build a relationship because who's raised prices like 20 to 25% multiple times over the last couple of years? TSMC. Now, again, it's not there today, but in the future, this is going to matter. And he also knows that with the administration's fickleness, I think he's also trying to get some favors. This week we saw China, gets cut off for Nvidia. He wants access to that market. So look, he's playing the good guy. He's doing the good role. He's saying everybody's great. ARM is great. Intel's great. Vivek is trying to say that AMD is great. I don't agree with that. I think AMD was the biggest loser from this announcement. I think that's also, by the way, indicative that AMD is doing something right. If he wasn't scared and didn't believe AMD had the capability to go rack scale and to build something that people would use, if he didn't believe that inference is an inflection where AMD could win, I don't think he would be making necessarily these moves. So he's got all the power. He's playing the game. He did a great job. This is great for Intel, great for the United States. But in the end, I do think there's a lot of sort of everybody's putting their hand in now and saying, when 14A hits and when it's up, we want to be the first in line for whatever particular parts that we're going to want to build there. And I think this has a lot to do with that.
Hey, Daniel, one of the things that really shocked me is how everybody coddled TSMC. Everybody is so scared. So it's like, who really holds the keys? Is it Nvidia or is it TSMC? I mean, literally, you read. Okay, we did the pre-briefing. Okay, we read the press release. We watch the interviews, and I heard no less than 10 questions on Foundry, and this is not a Foundry deal. Okay, I get it. It's not a Foundry deal for wafers, but this is a Foundry deal for packaging on the data center part. So what is it? What is it, Daniel, that has the fear of TSMC? Does TSMC have more power than NVIDIA?
Yeah, I think so. Because try to make a chip without them. right now. And that's why I said, like, I think there's a really 5D sort of chess thing being played with propping up Intel, because Samsung hasn't been able to execute, not at scale. And I hope they do. And I think they've made some progress. The Tesla deal, for instance, was good. But like, Pat, we do need, like, you could argue like TSMC and ASML could basically get together and just say, we're going to charge whatever we want. And actually, TSMC has shown over the last few months that they basically can charge anything they want. They are a monopoly right now. By all definitions, they are using their unique asymmetrical power to control pricing. And right now, nobody can build. You couldn't build iPhones without them. You couldn't build servers without them. You couldn't build Android. Like, what could we build without TSMC right now? Real question. Nothing.
Well, it's not nothing. I mean,
yes, you could build legacy, lagging edge, and by the way, you could build some Intel PC chips. But like, what data center GPUs or XPUs could we build without them?
Well, I mean, the Groq part that we love so much is done on 12 nanometer at Global Foundries. But no, I know. Of course, I would find.
No. I just feel like I just had a conversation with my wife. Thank you.
No, I mean,
you found the one.
I know. Like I go to that tiniest corner case on the entire planet.
You're right. I mean, you're not wrong, but I still think you're wrong.
And how wild! Another thing on the video press call, everybody waxing on how amazing TSMC is, and Lip-Bu was. By the way, Lip-Bu knows CC Wei very well. They've had a long-term relationship, so there's that. There's that connection. I totally get mutual respect. Let's not, throw this in TSMC's face. But my God, like, they have what, 90% of high-performance silicon, right? Like, anyways, I just thought I think this is going to be the hallmark story, a story that just keeps on giving and giving and giving out there. There's so much we don't know about this right now, and we're going to get leaks. We're going to get conjecture. We're going to get, it's over for AMD. It's over for ARM, right? Intel's back, and it's just, I think this is what I'm here for. Everybody out there is grinding on these types of things.
Well, and by the way, like, I think the implications of the story are much more interesting than the product announcements. I mean, that's why I kind of landed on Foundry. Like, when is this even, by the way, Pat, when is any of these products going to hit the market?
Oh, 2 to 3 years.
But I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, look at how much credit they got for something that literally we're going to have 2 to 3 years, which is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure spend is going to happen before this product ships. So, if I'm, it's awesome, but it is still, you are talking future state. We're talking almost the next decade before this is material. Anyway, all right, we ready to move on this one, or you want to say more?
I think that's it. I've ran out of gas on that one, at least for this hour.
Did we peel this thing apart?
Yeah.
All right, it's fully peeled apart. All right, let's get to the next thing. I sort of alluded to it. I don't think, God, we've talked so much about this, but China. So China apparently now, 1 week it's us saying don't ship. The next week they're saying don't ship. It's funny, I talked to almost as many reporters about this news this week as I did the Intel thing. I think you had all the Intel coverage. I think you were the guy. Like, Pat Moorhead got the Intel Nvidia story. You were everywhere. CNBC, Yahoo, more CNBC.
It's funny. I was happy about that, but what I'm happiest about is, I don't know where we are. 380,000 people interacting or looking at that long tweet.
That tweet was great, by the way. Generally, you don't get rewarded for being that in depth.
No, I know.
Twitter.
It's put out the slop and put a meme in there, and you get millions.
Just a picture and a post. That's what we're. But that was awesome. But this, I've been talking all week. Pat, so the thing is, I still don't believe anything I read about China, U.S., and Nvidia. I genuinely think the idea that they're going to go all in house and do it in any sort of meaningful time line that they can stay competitive is like highly improbable. I, I had a call with a reporter last night about CAN versus CUDA. Like you can't, even if you can port the code, it's like there's so much work to make it actually run on that hardware. So my take is this: is I think China has to do this, and they're going to do it over many years. But I actually think either A, they're going to find a way to keep getting NVIDIA the right way, or they're going to keep getting NVIDIA the wrong way. But they're literally going to fall further behind by an order of magnitude, years behind, by trying to do this on their own. It's too hard. It takes too many generations. Microsoft can't do it out the gate. Amazon's taken 3 generations. Google took 6 to 7 generations. Huawei has never built at scale a freaking data center AI platform. And it's got something. It's not nothing, but it's not going to happen in a short period of time. And they can make it open source, and they can have all their developers contribute code, and that will help speed up things somewhat. But it's not going to compete with the frameworks and the libraries and the tools and the community and all the developers, even in China, that all want to run on NVIDIA. So I'm going to say this news is out there. Most of what I hear, see is political posturing.
I really loved Jensen's final call on this, where he essentially said, this is bigger than any vendor. This is about geopolitics. Zero everything out. I'm out. Right. I love that. Those weren't his words. I mean, he called it disappointing, but he did characterize geopolitics bigger than anybody. And the amount of time you can imagine he's spending on this and what that's detracting from, I just don't know where this ends. We've got 232 that should be coming in, and everybody in DC tells me it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. It's been right around the corner for a month. Okay. When does that show up? What is it going to say? There's so many things we have to figure out, even aside from China. Remember all these big Middle East deals that were cut out there? Well, guess what? We still haven't authorized gigantic GBs to get shipped out to be installed there, right? This is a non-starter right now, because one of the biggest customers of those Middle East data centers are likely going to be people in China. So a lot of discussion going on about this, and it's so complex now. I've lost the script, and maybe I feel like Jensen, like I'm done. I'm bored with this. And we're just going to wait for the next tweet to come out.
Yeah, this is ongoing. I'm going to stick with it being politics. But Pat, speaking of politics, I mean, U.S., TikTok, Oracle, Silver Lake, it's on.
Yeah, it is on. This is when another of these in Trump 1.0, this TikTok was going to get banned, and then it didn't. And then we went into the Biden administration. It was going to get banned, and then it didn't. Trump comes back in, it's going to get banned, and it keeps getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. But right now, it looks like mid-December is the new date. And yeah, the framework, it's Oracle, it's Silver Lake, it's A16Z out there, and that consortium maintains 80%, and ByteDance takes 20%. This is all about the data, right? Where Oracle would manage the data. They would have to come up with a new algorithm. And it's so funny, Daniel. I was watching some coverage on some of these broadcast shows, and they're talking about how easy it's going to be to replace that algorithm. Let me be very clear. That is the core IP of TikTok now, is that brain rot algorithm that not only tees up content for you, but also tees up the right ads and tees up the right suggested followers. So I just don't think the reality is that's going to happen by mid-December. It's almost like recreating all of the intellectual property for Google search in 4 months. So I don't know how it's going to happen. I do think that it'll probably end up licensing the algorithm for a time until it can recreate it. And the reason for this is that the U.S. doesn't like the idea that a Chinese company can get access to American pictures, location, the content that they use. They're afraid of being programmed by the CCP and causing disruption, driving disruption out there. So, this is the investment side, but there's the real reason why this is happening. Final comment is I want to remind everybody that there are no United States social media platforms that are allowed in China.
I don't know. I heard TikTok in China is like a math and learning app.
Yeah, they probably shut it off. They only let kids on it 2 hours a day, like they do gaming. Did you guys know that out there? That if you're a certain age, you're limited on the amount of hours you can play games.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, they feed the nonsense. I don't know if I call it programming, but I mean, I see the stuff that's on TikTok, and when I literally want to rot my brain, I watch that stuff. Like, it is the lowest common denominator in terms of quality and intelligence required. It's almost as bad as watching bodybuilders shoot up steroids on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that.
I know, but what is it? It's your brain rot, right? You watch that, literally, it's brain rot. Like I said, the deal is the deal. I mean, Oracle's winning. I mean, TikTok's got a huge customer base, and Oracle securing this is great. I think they're going to need to figure out the algorithm thing, to your point, because if they can't make it work like TikTok, it won't. The popularity will dwindle. I mean, that's the goal. But again, I think it's interesting. A lot of winning for Oracle these days. A lot of winning for Oracle, Pat. I'm not a TikTok guy though, so I don't have a lot of personal investment over there.
Yeah, I did.
They don't
got on.
They don't let me on it.
Yeah,
but you look good on it. Let's jump to a little bit of we'll hit a few quickies because we've spent a lot of time on the Intel thing, and we said we would. So hopefully everybody doesn't mind that we're moving a little quicker through some of these decodes. Microsoft, Nvidia, $40 billion more in the UK. Pat, for me, more AI diffusion from the US. I thought it was interesting that I think Keir Starmer, their prime minister over there, has hit bottom in terms of popularity. You got national revolts going on across the UK right now about reform and immigration. Again, it's all the pendulum stuff. It swung one way, it's swinging back the other way now. He's very unpopular, and he's actually looking for a little backing from the US's great results. I mean, the US economy, despite the rumors of it being capitulating, seems to continue to do well. I mean, remember the Atlanta Fed, and they had like some massive drop in GDP, and now they've revised everything up. You got S&P up. Somehow, Pat, by the way, like we'll talk about this in Bullet Bears. I'm a little scared. Like, you got growth assets up, you've got defensive assets at all-time highs, so gold and stocks. This is not how shit is supposed to work. Okay, all at all-time highs. But the bottom line is $40 billion or so planned to be spent, massive supercomputer builds, 120,000 NVIDIA GPUs. You've had commitments from Microsoft to spend, I think 30 of the 40 was a Microsoft build-out commitment. I think another $5 billion coming in from Google. UK wants a little bit of what the US has got right now, and they need US technology to do it. And so these announcements was all about going over there. And I thought it was interesting, the UK sort of has, obviously you had Brexit, but they sort of tend to flip in and out of siding with Europe, of whether or not they're like this more slow moving, data protecting, fining, or are they going to be more progressive and try to be faster moving, more innovation laden like the US? They're showing a little bit more of a pendulum swing towards the US. I think they want a little bit of that growth and excitement that we bring here. Because I'm pretty sure NVIDIA is bigger than the UK now.
Oh, I know. No, I mean, listen, we have debates that are, but it still holds its own in the EU, right? It's still the biggest EU player related to tech. if you look at investments, if you look at investments out there. So yeah, I think every country will be getting the treatment here, Daniel, and this is one of the biggest conversations when you and I were at Davos was this whole idea of sovereign clouds, right? That countries wanted their own clouds. Now, interestingly enough, there was a lot of discussion about the risk of going with a hyperscaler because, oh my gosh, like what if they pull the plugs or hold the keys, which by the way is like a zero chance of happening, but it sure did stir up the controversy out there. So there was this UK build out that you probably saw. Nscale, Nvidia did their own thing, Google did their own thing, but one thing that got totally plastered over, Daniel, that I thought was actually the biggest data center announcement, but it got totally forgotten about, was Microsoft's Wisconsin AI data center. Satya got out there, was talking about it, but it was drowned out a lot by the AMD, Intel, Nvidia, ARM discussions. And they're basically saying, hey, it is the largest AI data center out there, hundreds and thousands of NVIDIA GB200s, 350 acres, 350,000 gallons of water a day. And these aren't just plans. This is a real life data center here. So what's interesting is Elon must have gotten wind of this, him talking about Colossus, which are H series. These are GB series, and we're talking hundreds and thousands of those. So I haven't looked closely enough at the data, but I looked at enough data and the confidence that Microsoft has to say this is the highest performance one out there, that Microsoft wins the day. And I think it might, even get people to be asking more questions about Oracle, right? And on Oracle timing and how that's rolling out.
Yeah, there was a lot though. I mean, every week, Pat, this stuff hits. So, okay, 12 nanometer Samsung process delivering the cloud of the future for inference, somehow outperforming some of these sub fives, some of these, and now they're raising almost another, $750 million at a $7 billion valuation. Groq, not with a K, with a Q. What happened there, Pat?
No, I mean, this is so Groq has a really interesting story. Jonathan Ross, TPU guy from Google, decides to pop this thing out and create his own company. It first started off as a chip company, and then really what it did is it turned into a platform and then a cloud company, right? You can host workloads on there, but also the Middle East has really taken a big liking to this, and hopping on the Nvidia can't rule the world for everything. Its valuation is going up with the whole data center AI trade. I'm really looking forward to this. What I think is going to be a Samsung based design. The original Groq design, I think, is on 12 nanometer at Global Foundries. And I think this next one, and again, I've got no inside information. Maybe it's been put out there. I think the next one is on Samsung 6 or Samsung 4. I do think it's pretty cool that this. I think this whole thing will be made into the U.S. But make no mistake, the biggest customer right now, they are out of the Middle East.
Yeah, I just say congratulations. They're sort of doing it on a, just brute force, winning deals in the Middle East, deals in Canada. They've really picked a lane. They're staying in their lane. They're not really trying to be a chip company anymore. They're really trying to be a system company with a out-of-the-box solution that's designed to accelerate the future, which is all about inference. That's the killer workload. So keep watching it, Pat. And you know what? I'm pleased to see that valuation keep growing.
Yep.
So quickly, IonQ is up another 3% today, nearing $70 a share. Just to tell you, right before its investor day, 1 week ago today, I was in New York City. It was trading in the low 40s. They announced the regulatory approval that day of their investor day to be able to close a $1.1 billion deal. So basically, just when Niccolo came in, it was around like a 20 something dollar stock. He doubled it in his first few months. He's done like 5 acquisitions, did $1 billion deal. He's done a number of partnerships, Department of Energy, doing stuff with DARPA, building this great ecosystem. Working with Nvidia, working with Microsoft, working with the different cloud players. And while there are only 36 logical qubits today, and there's not a ton that can be done, he's building quantum computing, he's building quantum systems, he's building quantum sensing. So he's playing in all the games, and basically in his overall presentation close, he talked about the fact that there's he likes to do this comparison with the quantum networking and quantum computing to what Mellanox and Nvidia did. There's a strong belief towards the end of this decade that quantum is going to drive more efficiency out of LLMs. It's going to drive lower energy usage to deliver on AI. And of course, you've got quantum encryption, which could be a key to actually protect things like stable coins and cryptocurrency from being hacked, as quantum can likely start to break that encryption by the end of this decade. So there's a ton going on. Quantum has a huge role to play, and this company is just absolutely taking off. So it's not any one thing. It's not just about closing this $1 billion deal. It's not just about its roadmap to 1,000 logical qubits, but really to the credit of the company. And I say clearly, I think you are two advisors, and we've worked with this company, but it's been very impressive because this industry has had a lot of talk, a little bit like VR, and a little to show in many ways from a commercial standpoint. But the company, I think, is on target to do almost 100 million of revenue, real revenue, and continues to innovate, acquire, and make noise. And the market is rewarding it for all that it's doing.
Yeah, I think IonQ, what I've noticed since Niccolo has come in is some, first of all, very decisive language that's used about the company. He has taken shades of gray and turned those into black and white. His analogy of Nvidia, I think, gets a lot of people in there, and there's substance when it comes to it. And with the deals and the alliances that he's put together with a lot of balance sheet activities, I think investors are putting IonQ at the front of the crowd for quantum. And I think ironically, probably the next biggest competitor is IBM, which is a gigantic company with a lot of resources. And what it does, it shows, I think the value of splitting it apart. It's your singular focus as a company. I like to call that, best in breed versus portfolio plays. And IBM is a portfolio play, but IonQ gets more of the the investor tune in, because that's all they do. They're the specialty play.
That's exactly right. People that want deep exposure versus ancillary exposure. And so that's clearly the place. And other names like Rigetti have seen huge jumps, but it does seem like IonQ is the farthest along in terms of commercialization that isn't, like you said, a portfolio play. Because IBM did announce, I think, $1 billion of income or revenue that related to its quantum efforts. I don't know exactly what timetable that's been under. They've been at it a long time as well. All right, Pat, that is the Decode. We spent most of the time here. We're going to sort of go into hyperspeed mode here. We're going to have a debate, and then we'll hit a real quickly on a couple of market items. But Pat, Meta came out with new, very sleek, very usable VR, XR glasses with displays. Very cool. But you know what? We've heard this before. Here's the new thing. It's Snap. It's Apple Vision Pro. This is going to be the thing that makes AR and VR go. But Meta, one of us has to argue that this is the thing that's going to make VR, AR, XR go. Is this XR's big moment? Oh, of course it's a go. I mean, you see how much time I spend on my Vision Pro.
Yeah,
I've been wearing these things since day one.
that's really.
I wear these to Starbucks. Look, this is an absolute sure thing. Meta has just cracked the code. It did what I've been saying it has to do. It has to create something that's fashionable, something that has displays, something that allows you to be forward looking and out into the public, something that brings and connects all those great features that you have on your device. And it has to be completely seamless. Sure, maybe the Wi-Fi failed in a demo, but hey, it was just a demo. They're going to get past that very, very quickly. What we saw here was this is the entry point, something in that, hundreds of dollars as opposed to thousands of dollars, something that is wearable and fashionable, something that does actually in real time, not just take camera outbound, but actually gives display and imagery inbound, and something that, can connect right away to our ecosystems. Meta's been after this for a while. It sort of took a back seat after the metaverse spending slowed and the AI focus came into play. But these new pivots and these new devices are going to be critical to making AI real in the real world every single day. And we are going to move to new form factors, out with the Apple, in with the Meta. This is going to be the beginning of the inflection point where Meta is going to start to take momentum. It's going to start to be able to deliver AI experiences. And while Apple continues to fumble and create skinny fat phones, Meta is actually breaking into the future and doing what needs to be done. There's not much more that needs to be said here. They brought the display, they brought the format, they brought the tools, they've made it affordable. This is the future, and this is the past.
So, I don't know. I spent a few years doing products, which I know I bring up only when it serves my talk track. But I got to tell you, there's a couple elements that make something mainstream. So, first of all, you can't change too many things at the same time or ask users to do different things, and this does not cut it on that point. You're asking people to wear glasses, okay? It's not like with a smartphone you're asking them to grow a sixth finger, right? It's like you just look at it. Right. And oh, by the way, it's like a pocket PC. Sometimes glasses, who wants to wear glasses all the time? And oh, by the way, you don't even have to worry about it lasting all the time because the battery is only 6 hours of mixed use, and it's not all day. So, I guess maybe you wear it in the morning and then you either charge it or something, like that. And then there's like the privacy, right? Like this thing is literally going to be always on, the camera and the microphone. Are you kidding me? Like, can you imagine what your family is going to say when you walk in and they know you've got these things on and it's recording you the entire time? I mean, that is an absolute Gen
Zers wet dream.
No, I know. I mean, there are use cases where it's like stellar. I mean, you can imagine, wakeboarding, or actually, they fall off your head and you lose them. But no, I can think of a lot of situations where those glasses would be perfect. Let's talk about price. Like $799 is still premium for an add-on device, and I think it needs to be less than $500. We're going to have to see developers. I mean, there's just a handful of developers out there, and in the end, it comes down to utility and what you can do. By the way, I'm the moron who actually paid $3,000 for Google Glass, and I am the moron who spent $3,500 on Apple Vision Pro. So, I mean, I'm a disaster. I'm an idiot, so I will probably buy one. Okay. Anyways, this thing is not, it's going to get us closer to mainstream, but it's not mainstream at all.
All right. I don't know. Neither of us were that compelling today. I give it a B minus. But I do like every chance I get to kind of thrash Apple,
Well,
and
we both
they're
buy Apple. I'm an Apple Samsung house here. I'm always carrying two phones. I'm typically wearing two rings, but they're just at a higher bar, right? They should be there should be critical people, because right now the clicks are all about how great Apple is. And I do think people are getting tired of the meme. I really do. Maybe this iPhone Air will be it. I've got my AirPod Pro 3 coming in to. It's funny. I thought the translation was only available on that, but apparently it's available on AirPod Pro 2. But I think I'm going to test the ANC. I do like my own little cocoon. When I throw earbuds in, I want to hear nothing. Anyway,
Did you get the new ones?
yeah. They show up today.
Okay, I want to hear how those are because I heard the noise canceling. That was a big thing. That's a reason to. And by the way, I heard they did a over the air update to make everything else suck worse. I had a couple people sharing that, like that after those phones were announced, their battery life got like halved. I still don't know if that's true, but God, if it is. All right. By the way, since we've been talking, IonQ broke 70. It actually went up another $1.50 and since I'm doing that segment. So, God, it's good to know people who are super successful. Someday I hope to also be super successful like that. Pat, let's quickly just go through a couple of items in bulls and bears, then we'll get everybody on their way. I mean, not that you'd ever want our show to end. Is there anyone out there that wants a 24/7 Dan bot, Pat bot, just dialogue? I think.
No, I mean, listen, we could both get 2 pairs of those Meta goggles and just stream the entire day.
That'd be fun,
right?
We could actually hang out together at work.
I would. I do miss that. I miss hanging out with you. We had our Cisco Desk Pros. We would just keep them on like we were
during the panty period of time. We would keep them on and we would just watch each other work and brag about deals we were closing.
I know.
That was fun.
I know. It really was.
You should get another one of those. Make it happen. Whoever made the first one happen. Oh wait, it was a wet market, China or whatever. Okay. All right, let's hit bulls and bears. All right, Pat, FOMC week. I mean, it was a nothing burger. Everyone expected it, and we got exactly what everyone expected, right? A 25 bip cut, but it is the pivot, right? This was the moment of the pivot. The initial response actually saw some stuff sell, and then the next day, everything has been ripping again. President Trump is sharing pictures of all-time high in his office with his computer on. I mean, it is kind of like, are we in an alternate reality? Is this even the universe we live in anymore? I mean, you and I covered why we need to cut rates. I don't know that this gets us there, but you've seen the rates are sort of dropping ahead of this. Like people see it happening. Mortgage rates have come to new lows. Some rates on things like automotive are coming down. And that's going to be what's important for sort of stimulating housing, stimulating vehicle purchases and other things. But it is really funny, Pat, because all the assets at all-time highs, inflation still above what was the level. The job market cracked a bit, which I think is what ultimately was the excuse for making the pivot. I've been positive about it because I do think it stimulates. I do think people spend more money when they have less interest to pay and they can get more for their dollar. But mostly a nothing burger. It was mostly already, I think a lot of this was sort of cooked in that this was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, I think it's, to me, they're meaningless to home loans, credit card loans, and auto loans, and that's where it matters. And if we're not seeing full point reductions, I don't see things moving. The typical American looks at this as, what does this do to my monthly payment, and how much can I afford, and what is it going to take to get people selling homes and buying homes again? So I don't know. This to me is a yawner. This is until we get to a full point of reductions, whether it's 4 by.
But it does send a let them cook kind of signal. Let it cook. Let the economy just cook. I mean, it is red hot. It is overheated. I am enjoying the ride as someone who's very active in investing and everything, but I'm also taking some defensive positions right now, just because I do think that it just feels like a correction. We haven't had a single correction over 3% since April. Not one. And it's just to go up like this. I mean, again, I'm sure this is definitely Trump's stock market now, right? President Trump, this is his market. He's taking credit now, right?
We're at that point. It's up, it's his. Yes.
Okay, so it's up. It's his. It's his market. All right, couple quick other items, Pat. Not a lot, no earnings this week, so this is kind of nice. We don't have to do that. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Depends whose earnings it is. But Musk, jumped in, and there's no better way to send a stock that's as sort of polarizing as Tesla up than buying almost $1 billion worth of your own stock.
Yeah, it's amazing what $1 billion of insider conviction can do to a sentiment chart. And yeah, I mean, Tesla's not a meme, but if I look at forward PE and stuff like that, it's a meme. It's a meme that's backed by science, right? We're not talking about Blockbuster Video or something. That's a joke, folks. Don't correct me. What I want him to do now is, and I think Elon Musk is, I think he should buy $1 billion of stock per week. Okay. And then see how far he can get this thing going. Why? Just to see if he can. Well, wait a second. Isn't he covered by the different purchasing and sales schedules based on him being a corporate officer? Yes, that's fine. He could buy it personally. And well, wait a second. Well, what about all the cash? Where is he going to find this? Well, he doesn't have just billions sitting in cash, but what he can do is what other billionaires do, which is take loans against his assets and buy that stock. Wouldn't that be fun, Daniel, to have $1 billion, him make $1 billion bet every week on that? Or do you think the market would just internalize that?
Well, I mean, I think the real question is, does he have that kind of liquidity? I know how much he's worth, but I just don't know how.
Is it like all billionaires don't have cash sitting around, right? They borrow.
They don't tend to have that much cash ever. I actually want a billionaire to go into a bank and ask for their money in a bag. Like, just put my cash in the bag. Like, could you even find $1 billion? Like, you'd probably have to go to like the reserve, right? You actually have to go to the reserve. I don't know. Like,
by the way, while you're there, you can see if there's any gold.
Let's go check it out. Let's go check out and see if there's any gold. All right, I just want to do that. We're going to end up here with a victory lap. I just want to say that, I've been the guy, and I don't think you disagree with me. I just don't think you've been as impassioned as me about this, that has been saying that Google was mispriced. Google is being underestimated. It's not getting credit for what it has and its capabilities in AI, that it needed to be completely re-rated. And it had a little overhang. It had some serious antitrust overhang. It had some people that had basically never forgiven it for its early Bard fails, and just didn't really think it would ever have a chance to compete with ChatGPT. But as we're seeing how fast this is moving and the leapfrogging that's going on, Google has the infra, Google has Brain, Google has DeepMind, Google has Waymo, Google has its cloud business, Google has Vertex, Google has agents, and Google now has a $3 trillion valuation. Is it high enough? I think it's getting there. I'm not going to say that it doesn't deserve more, but I'm going to say the market finally, I think after it got the peace of mind that it's not going to have to be broken up, at least not, in any really material way, is finally giving credit for the fact that they also, on all those other things I said, have the data. Remember, ChatGPT wouldn't be ChatGPT without YouTube. It wouldn't be without all of what Google has. So Google has all the ingredients, but Google had been long mistreated and mispriced. So congratulations to all the Googlers out there and the people that have been backing it and that have been believing it. And mostly congratulations to me for being right again. I just want to put that out there because once again, I made the call, and a lot of people like to give me crap about it, but
it's so funny.
Sure. Go ahead.
I mean, I say it a couple times, then I get bored with it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I got to really stick to things. You become like the person, you know what I mean? Like, but I actually become convinced this, and I want to put this on the record, that the more average people tell me my ideas are bad, the better I think my ideas are. So if you're listening to this pod, you're probably not an average person. You probably are really, really smart and really, really wise, and you're really, really successful. But those people that like to argue with me, especially on X, but sometimes on LinkedIn too. LinkedIn, by the way, sucks. I absolutely want to talk to someone over there. I hate that platform. And I love Microsoft. I really do believe in the company. I just wish they would make LinkedIn suck less. I used to love that platform. It's no longer a place to really share anything but self-serving, job-related and career-related stuff. Every once in a while, like your post yesterday about Intel will work, but like 99% of the time, dumb image with a meme and some self-serving, I am so proud and happy that blah, blah, blah. It's worse than Facebook. Anyway, I just want to call that out. Fix it.
Yeah. LinkedIn is basically a corporate process drivel. So, listen, I still post there. I get a couple bangers there every once in a while. So on Google, I never dis.
That's what I said. You were always with that.
Well,
but
to put, like, you would have believed that they would have gone scot-free from the antitrust stuff. Like, and holy cow, like, it was a mere flesh wound, right? They have to share data. So what, right? And they can't do exclusive contracts. So what? The biggest thing was the ad network, right? This idea that they would have to split out DoubleClick, which is the leading ad. I think it has like 70 or 80% market share out there. Now that would have left a major flesh wound. I think they could have recovered with breaking out the browser as well. So yeah, you would have had to have predicted that. And I think what I give Google the most credit for is the ability to, they were essentially sitting, in a seat on search and YouTube that was more like, let's protect this thing than anything else. Bard was a disaster. Gemini 1 was awful. And to their credit, they pulled out. So, kudos to them. The beta on the stock declined, which was a positive. And let's not forget how many times Sundar went to Washington, D.C. and kissed the ring. And I think that helps too.
Ring has been kissed. Speaking of kissing, I look forward to seeing you later, Pat.
Yeah, really.
I don't know exactly when, but whenever it is, it's always great. It was great to see you a little bit this week in person.
Yeah, it was good.
And it's great to see all of you here remotely, virtually, listening on Spotify, iTunes, wherever it is that you listen to the pod or watching the video. We hope you watch the video. We think we're really great to look at, especially Pat's biceps, and very impressive. But we would ask you to, hit that subscribe, share this with all your friends. I hope you find it valuable. If you don't, I don't really care. Don't tell me about it. Tell Pat. He likes to get the feedback. He reads, by the way, all his DMs. So if you're on X, send him some DMs. He loves to get messages. But for this week, for this show, for this episode, it is time to say goodbye. See you later.